My favourite children's book is Emil and the Detectives by the German writer Erich Kästner. It was a book that came out in the late 1920s in Germany, and it's a favourite of mine for many reasons. I've read it to my own children and loved reading it, but also it was read to me when I was at school by my teacher, Miss Goodall, when I was about 9 or 10. And our teacher read it to us one chapter at a time. I think it was on Friday afternoon, so we had a whole week of agony wondering what would happen next. It's really one of the first child detective books, and if you think there have been many since, just think of Enid Blyton, Charlie Higson, Anthony Horowitz, but it was Erich Kästner who got the ball rolling. He was actually a writer of cabaret songs. That was his first profession, but he got into writing this book because he was asked to by a literary agent. And the story is about a boy who lives in the country with his mum. His dad has died, and he has to travel to Berlin and take some money with him. He has to travel on a train, and sitting in the compartment is a rather suspicious man. And when Emil falls asleep, he has a strange nightmare. When he wakes up, he finds that the money is gone from his pocket. And money means a lot to this family because they scarcely have any. His mum's a hairdresser, but she doesn't own her own parlour or anything. She does the hairdressing at home. So they're broke, they haven't got much money. And so by the time Emil arrives in Berlin, he finds he has no money. But he's able to follow the man who he's pretty sure has nicked the money, who's called Herr Grundeis. So what does he do when he gets to Berlin? The answer is he chums up with a whole bunch of boys, Berlin street kids, who help to corner Herr Grundeis. That's basically the story, but it's much more than that because the book is funny. It tells you about the life of these Berlin kids in a way that had never been told in children's books before. These are lively kids with all sorts of conversations about what their parents let them do and don't let them do. And basically they're very free. They run about Berlin doing what they want to do. And Emil is basically saved by this because he was supposed to have been met at the station by his grandmother and his cousin, and he had got out a stop early in order to follow Herr Grundeis, you see. And in a way, Berlin is another character in the book. That's what's partly so wonderful about it, because you feel that Berlin comes alive. And here's my favourite passage from the book. It goes like this. It had already grown dark. Electric signs flared up everywhere. The elevated railway thundered past. The underground railway rumbled, and the noise from the trams and buses and cycles joined together in a wild concert. Dance music was being played in the Café Wirtz. The cinemas in Nollendorf Square began their last performance of the evening, and crowds of people pushed their way into them. Now you could marry that passage up with really exciting pictures of Berlin at this time by people like George Gross, where Berlin was alive, and it was an incredible city. Some of us forget that because, you know, Berlin was destroyed in a variety of ways. First of all by the Nazis, who destroyed its diversity and its extraordinary life and vigour, but also of course it was bombed and shattered during the Second World War, and Berlin has perhaps taken years to recover from it. So in a way the book is like keeping something in aspic. It shows us a living, vibrant Berlin of the past with all the optimism expressed by these boys solving a crime, and it reminds us of that there is this other Germany, that there is this Germany that was so full of fun and life and culture before these terrible years of the Third Reich that so tend to dominate the way we think of things about Germany. So this is one of my favourite books. Perhaps it is really my favourite children's books of all time. And I'm also very interested in Erich Kästner himself. So he was an extraordinary man, and so that attracts me to the book as well.